Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Identity Library. My name is Veronica Becher, and today I'm actually not joined by anyone. To be fair, it's a solo episode that we probably never had actually on this podcast before. And I've been thinking about recording this episode because I was like, you know what? It's the end of the year, it's kind of ready the summer, and I should just give you an update of my life and what is happening with this podcast. And you've probably listened to the other episodes. If not, what are you doing? Go back. Literally, listen to the other episodes so you know what's happening. At least the last two. Yes, I graduated from NC State, but maybe an update if you're new to this podcast. Welcome. If you're not, then you probably won't like this update, hopefully. I got accepted into grad school here at NC State, so I'm gonna stay for another 2 years, hopefully, with my podcast. So you'll hear a lot of new people. I'm excited. I'm really excited for the new season, season 2. That's what I feel like I'm gonna call it. And this time actually without one of my closest friends, Abdullah, who you've been hearing a lot. There will be one episode, and that's it. I mean, we're done. He's leaving the country. He graduated with his master's in international studies, and well, it's gonna be an update. It's gonna be different. Just more episodes, maybe more solo episodes. I'm not sure yet, but yeah, it's a random day during the summer, and I thought it was just important to have an update. Well, if you feel like being on my podcast and you feel like you have a story to tell about identity, cultural, heritage, anything that fits my, format, it's pretty broad. Let me know, reach out to me, find me on Instagram. Please reach out to me. I'm always happy about suggestions. I'm happy about anyone who feels like being back, returning with new topics, with ideas, hobbies, anything you feel like you want to share. And also, never think about that you need to be special to be on my podcast. Like, I do select, but I feel like it's not that complicated, and you don't have to be, person number one, the most important person on earth, in order to be on my podcast. So, yeah, that's one thing. And, whoa, my voice is disappearing. Midway through the podcast episode. So I hope you're enjoying your summer. I hope you have a beautiful summer in general. I mean, don't burn. Please put sunscreen on your skin, no matter your skin color. Just gonna say that for all my friends that are always debating about it. And I feel like it was a great 1 year of podcasting. I finally posted it on LinkedIn, what I think is a crazy step for me. I feel a little bit crazy about posting your podcast on LinkedIn, but I was like, you know what? It's part of, my career. It's part of what makes me who I am, and I might as well share it with people that might be interested in, exploring new topics. Life's been really changing lately. I'm going back home for the summer. I still haven't left, but I'm leaving soon, in a week and a half. And I'm going to be in Germany seeing my parents again. I'm super excited for a lot of different things, especially some good German lemonade and cheese. And since living here, I'm so lactose intolerant. I cannot eat, I can still eat some milk products, but barely any. So I'm excited. If you see a random girl eating feta cheese for the next 3 months, well, you know what's happening. That's me. There's just no one else who's probably eating the amount of cheese that I'm gonna eat. Really random fun fact. Well, this episode is maybe something that I feel like I wanted to do after I held a speech for one of my programs, Cultural Fellows programs. And a lot of students approached me after I held the speech. And they were like, you know what, Veronica, you should definitely post it somewhere or record it or apply to be a commencement speaker. And I didn't end up being a commencement speaker, but I still wrote a commencement speech. And it was a speech that was initially dedicated more towards my my Caldwell class. But I also was thinking, I really want to, if so many people want to hear it, I might as well read it out, or rather tell you my commencement speech that it was super random. And I feel like that would be nice end of this season. Nice ad. I hope. I'm still waiting on my thesis. That's maybe an update. I finished a whole thesis, 74 pages. We're through. If you're not, writing a thesis for your undergrad, you're so lucky. I'm so proud of you that you are not suffering like me. And I literally just hope that I'm getting my degree. Other than that, well, not much happened. I feel like I've grown a lot. I've met a lot of new people. My life been changing a lot lately. A lot of friends are leaving, a lot of friends staying. It's a mixture of just mixed feelings. My whole German group, my whole international group is leaving. It's gonna be an interesting new year. And if anyone feels the same way as I do, I totally understand the struggle of being the in-between friend, where it's like, if you stay, if you're not leaving the place, it's super difficult because you remember all the places. It feels like a breakup with your friends. And you remember all these places you've been to, and you remember the people you've been to these places with, and it's hard. But I also wish to anyone who is going through this transition, please don't give up. There are a lot of new friendships to come, a lot of new relationships to come. It's not the end. And even though it feels like it sometimes, especially when people talk about how college is like your golden time era where you're like becoming the best version of yourself and you have the most fun. Well, to give you, to tell you the truth, maybe if you start working right now, it's going to be different, but still, it doesn't mean that you should stop being yourself or give up on your dreams or hobbies completely. Find time. We never have time, but find time. So, my commencement speech, that was the longest introduction on earth. So I hope you're enjoying it wherever you are listening to it. And I'm so sorry for everyone who's right now in Europe without any AC, because it's really uncommon that we have actually AC. So I'm still enjoying my AC. It's kind of funny how I just realized that I want to add a different part, and this is the messiest episode that I've probably recorded in my whole life. But basically, before we started with the nice commencement speech, I felt like we should do a recap about everything that happened in this podcast in general. And I'll give you a rundown of what we've accomplished throughout the whole year and what you've been listening to your whole year too. So we start off with chapter 1 and the whole concept of, holistic medicine meets Moldovan family traditions with lore, and basically talking about culture and how, having just the kickoff journey of this podcast, how Moldova and how just medicine and how just families work, in the Slavic cultures. And I think that was just a nice add-on. The second was the journey to meaning of life, what is one of the episodes that people still talk and still remind me of with Nima. I mean, I think this is an amazing episode that happened, and I just did not expect to happen at all, but it was just so deep and so meaningful. Disclaimer, it was about, suicide and the whole how it could happen, how you survive after a suicide. So attempt, and a lot of people tell me all the time, man, this is an episode that just touched me, something that I didn't even know I needed to express myself. So I think that was just still something that sticks with me. Chapter 3, the act of moving abroad, again with lore, and it's difficult to live in a different country. And there was another episode we had later on how we kind of reflected back how it is to be one semester abroad. And Laura's coming back, actually, so I'm really excited for next season. So she's probably going to be back in the studio. She loves the studio so much, more than I do sometimes even. Chapter 4, Dutch biculture in breakfast sprinkles. So we're going back to Lucas Cascado being, oh my gosh, if I pronounce his last name wrong, I'm sorry, Lucas, you're the only okay, that's actually exaggerated. He's one of the people, not the only person, I just want to say, who listens to every minute of my episode. I just need to shout out to my number one fan, apparently, one of them at least. And it was so funny. I mean, after we recorded and talked about so much about Dutch culture, his dad was like, you need to record another episode that is about Italian culture, because you're not only Dutch, Lucas. And so we recorded later on another one. And then we had an introduction to our soccer player, Kian Alberto, with Chapter 5, Redefining Academic Careers and Happiness. Kind of finding the goal, how can you be happy? And that's just one way of looking at it, what self-love is and what it means to take care of yourself and not lie to yourself. Chapter 6, The Powerful Names Across the Globe, with Abdullah, who appeared too many times. I'm joking on my podcast, but he did appear a lot. And Chapter 7, I wish we would have more episodes that are actually hobby-based. Flying High, A Pilot Journey with Cole Hood. And I love that episode for the reason that it was about a hobby that people not think about. They think that might not be the best approach for my podcast, but I liked it a lot. It was exactly what I needed. And Navigating the Midnight Library, Multiverse and Aspirations with Laura again in Chapter 8. I still love the Midnight Library. I've been reading a lot of books lately and trying to get back on my book running, 25 books minimum per year. What is not a lot for book lovers, but it is a lot when you write a thesis and you have 20 credits and you try to do 1,000 other things and be involved in too many things at the same time. So sometimes it's the minimum I want to read. Then Chapter 9, From Alignment to Self-Love with Kian Alberto again. So we talked so much more about self-love, so the concept and how he redefines it. It's more a transformative episode, so something that maybe some people would be interested in. Of course, Chapter 10, like I said, La Dolce Vita, Italian culture and modeling in China, what is a completely different thing that we all did not know about Lucas. But yeah, Lucas used to be a model of today. Chapter 11, Enchanted Wetlands with Josie Huchard. And Josie's fantastic. I feel like Josie's gonna come back, maybe. Who knows? But just talking about something you're really passionate about, and that's just real. After recording that episode, I realized, I really want to record more episodes that are career-based. Because I feel like people have really interesting career paths. And that's just something that we should, embrace more. So 2 episodes that are still in the making. They're not out yet, but they will be out by the time you listen to this episode. Are 2 about careers instead. Christmas Tales, Festive Costumes, Chapter 12. I love that one. It's Halloween, and it just feels like I haven't thought about my family for a while, and I was really homesick. Recap, Chapter 13. Chapter 14, Lessons, Memories, and Milestones with Abdullah. And then what I love, Chapter 15, one of my favorites, From Pixels to Fabric. It's a graphic design one. And I actually, maybe a little update in life, I went to Alex's fashion, art to wear show, and it was fantastic. If any one of you guys went, really, it was beautiful. The people had their own little circle area designated to them, and they were wearing their own, so the designers were wearing their own clothes, and they were moving accordingly to the character that they display. And it's kind of like a exhibition. You walk around and these people move and change accordingly to what is happening, and sometimes they interact with the audience, sometimes they don't. It was fantastic. I loved it. It was in a Greg's museum. Some people might know it, some people don't. But it's a museum that is really close. Well, it is associated with NC State. A lot of student work is shown there, but they also have their own exhibitions. And it's a really small one, but I love the backyard. It's an open backyard. If you haven't been there, check it out. And there are a lot of nice plants, and I love how they use it for some music and some cocktails or mocktails to begin with. It was just a really nice atmosphere. So beautiful, beautiful work again. Lumbee culture. Whoa. Chapter 16 made me so nervous, and Chapter 16 ended up being, seriously, I think it is the most impactful episode I recorded for myself, just because I realized Gavin is just fantastic. I mean, I love recording about Native Americans. I feel like I want to bring more voices to this podcast that are from other cultures, from other backgrounds, something you would not experience unless you actually live in the area here. And I think that's fantastic. That's what makes it interesting. And I really hope for next semester and next season to maybe bring more people, professionals, or more diverse group of people. And I think not that these people weren't diverse, but I think that's just something that I think about sometimes. Chapter 17, poetry, film, and creative writing, words that taste like home. I read the short story. I loved it. It was the dumpling short story, if anyone actually read it. In Word, oh my gosh, I'm still in touch with Word. It's fantastic to have people come to my podcast. It's sometimes also really interesting because people come to my podcast and some of them I see again and it's like, whoa, like I am still in touch with you and I talk to you so much. And some people have just a story to tell and then they disappear kind of for the next 10 years. That's how it feels like. And it's really interesting to see this progression of I needed to provide the space for people to talk about their story, and then they fulfilled, or I fulfilled the need that, or the purpose I had and the connection that we had initially. So some people I interview and I never see them again. It was kind of funny. And then lastly, like chapter 18, what is living as John Smith. If you want to hear some karaoke, I cannot speak karaoke. You should check that out with Abdullah. And two more that are coming. So one is with Tommy about agriculture. So finding yourself also as an Asian person or like Asian American person in agriculture and just finding your own little spot, but also graduating school. And then one with CC Harrison about women in engineering, what is a really, really important topic that I was willing to record for a while. And I'm like, man, we should record it finally. And I think that's just, I like the diversity. I like the people that came to my podcast. And I really, really hope we will have more people and guests next semester. So with that being said, I will transition back to the commencement speech. And I hope you enjoyed. It's kind of like maybe silly, a little bit emotional thing to like, post online. But I want to be honest. I want to be vulnerable. It's my little space. And I always like to joke, if you're a hater, you're my bigger supporter. Thank you so much for supporting me. Thank you for the random recap. And we're switching over room with a jacket on. So we're starting. Enjoy the commencement speech. Imagine for a moment that we are sitting around the fire. The flames dance and flicker, casting soft, golden light on our faces as the warmth wraps around us. Long before books and screens, people gathered around flames like these, their voices carrying tales that bridge distant lands, painting pictures of gods, heroes, magic, and mystery. These stories weren't written, they were told and retold, growing with each new voice. They were shared experience that wove an invisible thread between generations, reminding us that no matter where we come from, we all long for the same things: connection, love, and the ability to dream. And so I stand before you today, or rather sit, in a studio, with the same invitation that those ancient fires would offer, to step into the magical world of shared stories, to listen, to dream, and to embrace the unknown. It's remarkable how all commencement speeches follow a familiar pattern, highlighting the speaker's greatest accomplishments, prestigious internships, leadership position, and awards. And I want you to ask yourself, how many times do we view success through this specific lens? How often do we equate a number on our scale to our intelligence, capabilities, or even our potential for a future full of success and happiness? Well, I can tell you one thing, I've done it way too many times. Trust me. Don't get me wrong, these things are important, but these shouldn't define us. So today I'd like to share a personal story. Growing up was a challenge in so many ways. I never felt like I fully fit in, always searching for a group of people who understood both sides of my identity. On one hand, I stood in my grandma's kitchen pickling tomatoes. I spent summers on a farm, flowers in my hair, a scarf tied around my head to keep the mosquitoes away, speaking Russian. On the other hand, I lived in Germany, where our traditions revolved around deep discussions about God and the world at any given moment. But there was one other thing. I was the worst English student. My mom always wondered how, despite being bilingual, I struggled so much with languages. I studied for 3 weeks straight for my English oral exam, sacrificing way too much, only to walk out with a failing grade, in my teacher's words echoing my mind, "You'll never be able to speak this language." Yeah, kind of hilarious, holding a speech and talking on a podcast in English. Looking back, I realized it was never about my ability, it was about the fact that the person I needed to believe in me the most told me I couldn't do it. How many times do we tell ourselves we can't just because someone else said so? that we aren't good at math, that we won't make it, that we will never start the company, never get the degree, never travel abroad. Science shows it takes only 100 milliseconds for a negative comment to influence our perception of our future and ourselves. And you know what? I was sick of it. So as some of you guys know, I moved to South Dakota, the state of cornfields and bison. I always like to say I did not choose a state, the state chose me. I studied abroad, realized I was too talkative to not talk in English, but life didn't stop testing me there. I got into my dream college in Germany, thought everything was perfect, only to realize my background didn't come with the right business connections. My mom was diagnosed with cancer right after. I started questioning if this career path was even for me. The thought of moving across countries became impossible. My grades dropped, and then I got rejected from the Caldwell Fellows program. That rejection stung. My background should have been my greatest asset in programs that value experience, yet I was still not enough. The same girl who once failed an English exam was now hearing, "You won't make it all over again." It's remarkable how often we convince ourselves that aren't special enough, that we aren't special enough, because we don't have an athletic career, the highest GPA, the right talent for the showcase, or the same background as everyone else. But once again, I choose to move forward. I applied to be a camp counselor at Satellite. And shout out to a potential guest who will be on the podcast next season, Sam, my co-counselor, who convinced me with a lot of other actually camp counselors to join that group and be a camp counselor to begin with. One day, a camper handed me a letter, me, counselor, who couldn't get her life together, who wasn't even American to begin with, who struggled with her own identity. The assignment was to write a letter to a teacher they were most grateful for, and she wrote it to me. And you know what? I want to thank her. Because it wasn't about me believing in her, it was about the fact that she believed in me. She became the person I needed when I was in 9th grade. I realized we can leave an impact on people if we just show up. A month later, I got accepted into the Caldwell Fellows program due to an open spot, and I really, really appreciate the girl. It's kind of a fun fact because the girl who was actually applying with me during finals round was standing next to me, and that's the girl who made it, and then she transferred out to go to Georgetown. And it's weird how life sometimes brings us to places that we just do not expect, right? She was literally the person I talked to the most, and she was the one who gave me a seat and opened up so many doors for me, and I'm so grateful for it, but also I'm so happy that she got what she wanted in the end. But I was realizing when I got accepted into the program that it was never about the program. It was about realizing that I'm more than the numbers on my CV, more than my background, more than my rejections. So now, dear listeners, don't let a single negative comment define your whole life. Life isn't linear. You never know if a failure will lead you to something greater. Goethe once said, "Courage is the commitment to begin without any guarantee of success." Here I am, speaking in front of you, in English. And being the perfect example that you're able to do so much more than what you might think. So I really want to express my gratitude towards the program, the Caldwell Fellows program, the Caldwell class of 27, the radio station that made me even able to have this podcast, Abdullah being my biggest supporter and actually interviewing me and then pushing me out of, a joke that I just told him randomly by walking back home, that I really wanted to start my own podcast, and that's the idea. And him finalizing everything in a file and being like, "Veronica, we're just gonna do it. Like, seriously, you should go for it." Lodana, who ended up, or Lore, some of you might know her, still this most successful episode that I ever recorded on my podcast. Just want to say that, with 26 different countries listening to it. And her being my first guest. And I was like, well, if I start this whole nerve-wracking thing, I will start with you. And I realized that through all of these people, I've learned that we must open our hearts to new opportunities and truly listen to one another. I've gained so much from these people. They made me cry, laugh, question things. And let's be honest, a lot of times when I record these episodes, I think of the people I impact. And I know my impact isn't as high, but it is still there. Because from time to time, I get one message and someone telling me, oh, I recognize your voice, or I've listened to your episode. I loved what you said. It touched me. Or I just didn't like it and it was completely opposite. But I feel like the fact that I'm reaching people and I create some kind of community or reaction from them, I think that's what it matters to me in the end. So I feel like this whole thing and this whole experience made me just feel like something I can actually call home and something that I could connect to. So I would like to challenge you, dear listeners, be courageous. Do it even if all odds are against you. Never let failure define you. You can leave a mark on someone else's life simply by being yourself, showing up, and offering a small encouraging word. The Caldwell Fellows will always be my second home, no matter where the journey we come from. And may we sit one day again at the fireplace, tell stories about our endeavors, and as servant leaders across the globe. Thank you so much for all my dear listeners. I'm really grateful for every one of you. And with that, I want to conclude season 1 of my podcast, Identity Library. I hope you're going to tune in August, and I'm excited to hear more from you guys. See ya. Bye.